This video will contain spoilers for major plot points in Final Fantasy VII for both the original game and the events that haven't happened yet in the remake series, so please proceed with caution if you don't want the potential events of the upcoming final installment spoiled. This video is based completely upon my own theories and through my own playing of the original Final Fantasy VII, Crisis Core and the Remake trilogy. I work under the assumption that the in-game canon is and always will be subject to change and refocus. Please be respectful to each other and put your energy into creating positive discussion. There is no right and wrong, only interpretations. So my thought process on this one was odd and fluid and definitely evolving, but I feel like it led somewhere really interesting. It's a pretty wild theory for sure, but it holds up surprisingly well when you look at the themes of Final Fantasy VII and the broader trends in the series. So stick with me as I make some questionable assumptions and tie them together into a conclusion that you probably weren't expecting. Let's get into it. When Roche first appeared in Final Fantasy VII Remake, I honestly thought he was a bit of a joke. Flamboyant, loud, riding his motorcycle like he was starring in his own anime spin-off. It was the first time I felt like the game was breaking away from the tone of the original. He didn't fit my memory of Final Fantasy VII at all, and I wasn't sure I liked that. But as I played more of Remake and on into Rebirth, Roche started to grow on me. He's still completely insane, but weirdly charismatic. And more importantly, Roche wasn't just any other enemy. He was competition. He was rivalry incarnate.
A second dance, just the two of us.
His only motivation is to best Cloud. Not to kill him or stop him, but to better himself to a point where he could beat Cloud. Where most enemies in Final Fantasy VII exist to slow Cloud down on his path to Sephiroth, Roche stands out because he actually wants Cloud to succeed. Because Cloud being better means Roche will push himself to be better.
Come on, let's push it past the red line!
He's consistent in his desire to use Cloud as a yardstick to improve himself. He recognises Cloud as something truly powerful and special.
Then again, I expected nothing less than the best.
From Roche's perspective, Cloud is his white whale, his obsession, his nemesis. But we, the player, barely register Roche beyond that crazy bike guy because we're seeing everything through the party's eyes. And
You'll never see the truth with such clouded eyes.
Shut up!
The moment this theory really started to take shape for me was during Chapter 12 of Rebirth in the side mission called Beneath Still Waters. In this quest, you work alongside Midgar's 7th Infantry to track down a dangerous escaped experiment that's been threatening the area around Junon. The mission is a slow build: track, follow, intercept, and when I finally got to the target, Hellrider 2, I had the strangest feeling of deja vu. And then I read this in his assess data. An artificial monstrosity created by Shinra's R&D division as part of a horrific experiment to combine man and beast. That's straight out of Hojo's playbook, and it got me thinking, this isn't just any monster. Hellrider 2, visually, looks a little too much like a downscaled version of Ultimate Weapon for it to be a mere coincidence. Fused with his beast, wielding a massive melee weapon, and forcing you into a hunt that spans a large area with military support. The whole mission structure starts to feel like a dry run of the Ultimate Weapon hunt from the original game, where you chased it around the world map in the Highwind. And if Chapter 12 side quests are foreshadowing events to come in Part 3, then this quest might be our first taste of what a man-made weapon might look like. Cut back to the end of Rebirth, Roche is in rough shape. His body's degrading, Hojo's experiments clearly having exacted a heavy toll, and after his final battle with Cloud, he looks like he'll be rapping on death's door momentarily. And that fight just so happens to take place right outside the Shinra mansion, a place well known as Hojo's personal house of horrors. Sure, we see him become a black robe and shuffle away, but there's a certain upcoming event where we know Hojo, a lot of black robes, and a ton of huge plot development happen coming up sometime early enough in Part 3. That's probably not a coincidence. We know Shinra and Hojo have a long history of experimenting on soldiers, crossbreeding them with monsters, Mako and Genova cells. Cloud and Sephiroth themselves are the end result of that legacy. So what's stopping Hojo from rescuing Roche from the reunion, or dragging him back to the lab before he shuffles away with the black robes, just like he did with Cloud and Zack? What's stopping him from pushing Roche further, fusing him with something else, and turning him into something new? Clearly nothing, because here he is in the helicopter with Hojo and Rufus during Chapter 13. Maybe Roche doesn't die. Maybe This is Roche's Rebirth. Bear with me now for a brief sidestep. A sidestep into Final Fantasy X of all places. In Final Fantasy X, if you captured 10 of every monster from all areas, you unlock one of the game's toughest enemies, Nemesis. He looks exactly like Final Fantasy X's ultimate weapon, with a slightly different colour scheme. Identical, but man-made. It wasn't born from the planet, it was constructed in the monster arena, and it was far more dangerous. And that got me thinking, this isn't a new idea for the series. The concept of a man-made weapon, born out of scientific obsession and crossbreeding, not planetary will, has precedent. And now, with Rebirth, we might be seeing it again. Only this time, it's Roche. Hojo sees the weapon rising out of the northern crater in the original. He sees Sephiroth's true power, and what does he do? He tries to replicate it, not by understanding it, but by manufacturing it. By putting his own god complex to work and using the best raw material he has left, Roche. And maybe even the one thing Roche has the biggest mastery of outside of his sword. His bike. And that leads us to Roche's sword. As of now, Roche wields a standard soldier 3rd class sword. The same kind we've seen used by others like Zack in Crisis Core, or the 2nd class soldiers we fight along Rebirth. It's nothing special on its own, just a clean, regulation grade weapon. Ultimate Weapon carries a sword that looks like a redesigned, upgraded version of the soldier blade. Sharper lines, massive scale, like someone took the base design and supercharged it. Never mind the fact that its secret ability is that it does more damage the more health Cloud has. A weapon that feeds off the user definitely has to have an interesting backstory. If Roche is going to be transformed into a weapon, a Shinra experiment designed to rival or mirror the real thing, it makes perfect sense that his weapon would evolve too. Not just symbolically, but physically. Now, I'm not saying that Hojo is going to create Cloud's ultimate weapon in Part 3. I think that actually might be more likely Gilgamesh. But there's definitely some crazy different ways it could come about in Part 3. His current blade is the starting point. His next blade might be something far more dangerous and closer to Cloud's ultimate weapon. So where does this leave us? We start with Roche, a flashy side character, a fool, a jester, and a rival. But by the end of Rebirth, the signs are all there. The degradation, his proximity to Hojo, the thematic mirror of Nemesis, the sword, the Hellrider quest as a prelude, it's all pointing to one idea. Roche is going to become a weapon. Not the planet's, but Shinra's. A man-made ultimate weapon, obsessed with Cloud and hell-bent on surpassing him in any way he can. His natural, healthy rivalry gone, replaced with a demonic drive for victory at any cost. Cloud's Nemesis. And here's one final thought I'll leave you with. What if none of the weapons that emerged from the Northern Crater in the original were truly the planet's response? What if they're not natural at all? What if they're Sephiroth's creations? Or worse, extensions of himself? But that's a theory for another video. If that sounds interesting, find that link below. So if you want more wild Final Fantasy VII deep dives, like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think Roche is becoming. Rival, weapon, or something else entirely.
We really must do this again.
Because one thing's for sure, the weapons are coming.
Until then, try not to die. I'll see you on the road, my friend.
And they might not be on our side. At this point, I just want to extend a heartfelt thank you if you've stuck with me this far. I appreciate each and every view, and I'm grateful if you chose to spend some of your internet time with me today. I hope you come back for more, and don't be afraid to leave me a comment with any feedback and suggestions you might have. Again, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day.